Action with diligence within the constraints of time and the constraints imposed by COVID-19. Yet we are reasonably confident that all measures necessary have been put in place to realize an election of the standard contemplated in the Constitution. To my colleagues, I say, we dare not fail. To my compatriots, the clarion call is the moment of vindicating our electoral choices for the reconstitution of municipal councils is upon us. Let us seize the moment by voting on the 1st of November 2021.
Okay, so that's where all the votes will be counted and collated. Political parties will, of course, be closely watching that. You saw the EFF leader, Julius Malema, wrapping up the provincial campaigning. He was in Inanda when we beamed that to you live. So by Friday, most of the parties would have stopped campaigning, as the next day will be the special voting taking place. So it's less than a week that South Africans will face a charm offensive by parties doing their most to persuade them to vote for them in the municipal elections. The ANC, as the governing party, plans to conclude its campaign by staging various Siyanqoba rallies, the party's final election rallies provincially in all voting districts on Thursday, before a national Siyanqoba rally on Friday, which will be addressed by its party president, Cyril Ramaphosa. The opposition parties like the DA, EFF, IFP, UDM, Freedom Front Plus and other smaller parties will also be ramping up their efforts to convince voters that they can govern better than the incumbent by staging events on Friday. Sysman Motloung is a political science lecturer at Northwest University and joins us now to take a look at how the various party campaign trails have been. So this election has been different compared to others. It's been less about the bigger parties and more on the increased number of smaller parties and a large number of new independent candidates. How is this going to influence the electorate, do you think?
Hi, Sapisa. I think it is true that it is different. We don't see a flurry of people outside big meetings where political parties are campaigning. But I think the emergence of more independent candidates is actually changing the game and the look of the final results, whereby we anticipate that not longer ANC or DA will have a majority, a significant majority. This will be now where votes are split for more of a scenario of a coalition. So it is very interesting and exciting that the candidates are emerging on their own to change the game.
So let's talk about whether there have been any major game changers. I want to compare not only the election manifesto launches, the content thereof, but the show that some of the parties have put on. We saw the EFF leader, Julius Malema, talk about artists. It's been said that the EFF has kind of created a carnival party-like environment. Who charts the top? I mean, who tops the charts? And I want to look at the fact that municipal elections don't necessarily work out for smaller parties. Are they able to net more voters because of increased independence? And I'm talking about here a sense of individual familiarity and proximity, which is what people seem to think is happening here.
I think we still have the ANC and EFF dominating the space. You could see their campaigns and media coverage is more than any other, whereby we still have the DA contending with racist issues and how they frame their campaigns. But for smaller political parties, this is an activity at a ward level. When you follow these political parties, you see they have their own town hall debates, and they are focusing on their specific wards where they could want to capture the voters' interest. We still have a domination of your ANC and EFF now, because campaigning is very expensive, even to move from one area to another. This is not like a provincial or a national election. The most campaigning happens at a ward level. where independent candidates want to capture their vote. So it is very ward-based at the moment.
Whereas it's been said that the EFF seems to have a well-funded campaign, I want to talk about what's actually happening. It seems the ANC is relying on President Cyril Ramaphosa, who appears to be spending a lot of time apologizing for things that went wrong. Do you think as a strategy that is working, including the fact that the DA, through its leader John Steenhuisen, is pushing how they are managing councils and municipalities better? Are they able to capture their audience through these messages?
I think it is very interesting how ANC has came back to be apologetic, and it seems to, I would be sorry today, but a simple voter to say at least something is happening, some difference is coming through. But what we want to see is that how the DA has been stubborn on holding on to its mandate, holding on to its message. So what they have been saying is not apologizing for the poster that they did in the KZN area, but essentially we see that a voter should be sitting down and without any sentiment or emotion looking into what the manifestos are saying. So the voting at this moment, I think it will be for those who say they are no longer happy with the governing party, they will make that decision. Otherwise, those who are very loyal to the party will continue voting for it.
So let's talk practically then, because I think a lot of people who voted will attest to the fact that you may think one thing when you go in, but when you're faced with the ballot paper, something different happens. So when it comes down to the wire, does sentimentality, identity politics, or financial management force the decision? And I also want to talk about the safety aspect. We know the security cluster has spoken about hotspot areas and a safety plan. Could that result in a voter turnout? Two questions, if you could just answer those quickly.
Yeah, first of all, on safety, we see the councillors are really harmed and they're being killed. I think it affects the councillors on their own for now. We don't see a specific threat at a voting station level. So if there's any such threats, I think the IEC and the security officials will be looking into it. Otherwise, indeed, when it comes to the voting at the moment, that's what I'm saying. It's a person who is predetermined that I'm going to vote out a governing power, or I'm giving them the last chance if ever they believe the message of an apology of things having to be done better than previously. So it is very hard in terms of what we are seeing. I think the competition will still be there within DA, EFF and ANC, seeing if they are able to unseat ANC where it's governing currently.
All right, so people possibly voting with their hearts and not their minds. Thank you so much for that, Sysman Motloung, political science lecturer at the Northwest University, your insights. Thanks for that.